The president just tweeted, never said when an attack on Syria would take place. Could be very soon or not so soon at all.
President Trump, please hold Assad and Russia accountable for these heinous war crimes.
This year will be my last one as a member of the House.
Paul Ryan and 39 other Republicans see that blue wave is coming, and he wants no parts of that.
You know, I would say to people who think there's a Democratic landslide on the way, just hold your horses.
How strange is it for you to sit here and compare the president to a mob boss?
James Comey is a dirty cop.
Do you censor speech?
There are types of content like terrorism we do not want to have on our service.
Diamond and silk is not terrorism.
It's National Grilled Cheese Day, and we are here celebrating with an epic 60-pound grilled cheese sandwich. Ready, America?
Are you ready, baby?
Come on.
Yeah. You're going for it. Squeeze that. Okay. Squeeze it together. Get that crunch. Yeah. Compress it. Compress. That's grilled cheese right there.
Thank you, Buble. So if your bank is closed today, it's because it's National Grilled Cheese Day, clearly. Janice Dean celebrating out on the plaza.
So much to celebrate.
A lot of the kids get off today.
Do they?
Yeah.
A lot of kids. You mean they don't go to school?
Yeah, that's what my daughters both said. No one goes to school on Grilled Cheese Day.
See, I
Does
think
your wife believe that?
Yes, they're still in bed.
Every parent needs to have a calendar of what to celebrate that day, because it seems like every day is a national day of something.
I think it's just a scam on the part of our staff to get free food.
I think so. It seems like that.
All right.
Meanwhile, the president's got a big agenda yesterday. I just cannot believe the volume of big news coming out from Paul Ryan's speakership going out. Now we have this news continues to be big news, and that is of a possible Syria reprisal after the Saturday attack. The president tweeted this out a short time ago.
He said, never said when an attack on Syria would take place. Could be very soon or not so soon at all. In any event, the United States, under my administration, has done a great job of ridding the region of ISIS. Where is your thank you, America?
Well, and clearly what he's talking about is the criticism that he has gotten after his tweet yesterday that essentially said, hey, Russia, get ready. The missiles are going to be coming, because the president famously has said, I'm not going to telegraph what I'm doing. But clearly the element of surprise is gone. What is taking the Pentagon so long? General Mattis made it very clear. Look, they're trying to make sure 100% that Mr. Assad and his evildoers actually did it. Here's Mr. Mattis yesterday, I believe, at the Pentagon.
Have you seen enough evidence that to blame the Assad regime for this most recent chemical attack? Have you seen evidence confident to make that assessment?
We're still assessing the intelligence ourselves and our allies. We're still working on this.
Is the U.S. military ready right now to conduct a retaliatory strike if ordered?
We stand ready to provide military options if they're appropriate, as the president determines. But thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Concerned about telegraphing our military moves in Syria?
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
If there's no reprisals, it is very much this president's red line that gets ignored, just like President Obama's. There's no question the world is waiting. They've had conversation with France, conversations with the UK, conversations with the Middle East. They've moved the USS Harry Truman into the area. We've seen the images. We have the satellite images. We know exactly what happened. And if we do not do anything, it's going to be almost impossible to recover our credibility.
Yeah. Well, I like the fact that the president isn't just saying, okay, it happened yesterday, I'm going to start bombing things. They're making very sure that things are as they do appear. There are the stories out there, Russia's saying, look, Syria didn't do it. There's that activist group called White Helmet. They staged it to make Syria look bad so the United States would do it. And that's why Russia has partnered up with Syria, as they have for years, and said, look, if the United States attacks them, we will blow every one of their missiles out of the sky.
It's about time Russia understands who the superpower is. They act like a 22,000-ton gorilla. They're not. They got 30 planes there. They enabled this thug to kill over 200,000 people and keep him in power, along with Iran. And if they did this, they also did 8 prior ones. There's enough evidence. The president's already on the record. He's got to do something.
Well, we have sent ships that way. Russia says they're tracking our ships, and they pulled out 11 Russian ships that were seen in the Syria area. Meanwhile, the president said that the Speaker is truly a good man. When the Speaker said yesterday, Speaker Paul Ryan, I'm not going to seek re-election.
That's right. Paul Ryan, the 54th Speaker of the House of Representatives, said he's not running for re-election. Why? Well, he made it very clear. He has never been at his house with his children growing up except on the weekends. He says, look, I want to do that. To some observers, though, it does look like maybe he sees that blue wave coming. He's trying to get out when he can. Maybe he wants to run for president in 2024. Whatever the reason, he is out as of January, and a bunch of Republicans are talking about who might replace him in the leadership.
Larry Kudlow says, hold on a minute. Everyone take a breath. Listen.
I would say to people who think there's a Democratic landslide on the way, just hold your horses. Let's see how this turns out. Economic growth and jobs and wages are very popular issues. And the people who are saying it's going to be a Republican catastrophe in November are people who have opposed our tax cuts, do not believe we can have better economic growth or help jobs and productivity. Let's see. Let's see how that works out.
Yeah, and I think it's important to know, at the very least, that the reason why the Speaker was put in that place, he never wanted it. He's not necessarily somebody to wrangle people like other strong speakers in the past. What he is, he's got a lot of credibility. He's looked up to. People understand how bright he is. He also was savvy enough to know he's not going to get rolled by Nancy Pelosi. There's a lot of people feel as that's going to the greatest quality of the next speaker is to be somebody who's politically savvy, likes the infighting more than the Speaker.
Don't you think
did.
it's a timing issue? If I don't get out now, then I am going to have to wait until after the midterms?
Or
because we're far enough away from the midterms where he can leave. And
No, he's going to lead right through the November election.
Right, but
he's going to stay in his office.
To Ainsley's point, would he be a minority leader? No. He'd probably leave like Denny Hastert left. But he feels as though even if I did keep this job, it's hard enough wrangling with the 23 or 24 person majority because the Freedom Caucus is 25 members. A lot of times they go against him because the Freedom Caucus disagrees with anybody with the moderates. He goes, how could I possibly get anything done if I have even a smaller margin if I keep the House?
Well, you know what? He's going out on a high note. They just got the tax cut bill, which he loves. Then again, there's the omnibus, which was way too much spending. Kevin McCarthy, House Majority Leader right now, he's been suggested along with Steve Scalise as perhaps a replacement for the Speaker. He's going to be joining Brian here in about a half an hour. And Brian, to your point about the House Freedom Caucus, Mr. McCarthy, who, rumors have been floating around for months that Speaker Ryan was going to be leaving. McCarthy has been courting the House Freedom Caucus, and what he's talked about essentially is pushing back on the billions from the omnibus. He's also been talking to the House Freedom Caucus about maybe an investigation into Hillary Clinton and also the balanced budget amendment. Even though it can't get through the entire Congress, at least the House Freedom Caucus would like to see the House on the record. So Mr. McCarthy is courting the House Freedom Caucus, which if you're going to be Speaker, you got to do that.
Big story on Sunday is going to be the 2020 special as James Comey sits down for the first time. But he'll sit down with a lot of people, including Bret Baier III with George Stephanopoulos. At which time the reports are it is so riveting that they're going to have trouble jamming it into 1 hour, which, by the way, is a great thing to say if you want high ratings. It's a good tease. But evidently, James Comey makes the unfortunate phrase and actually equates this president to a mob boss. Listen to this.
How strange is it for you to sit here and compare the president to a mob boss? Things that you know but haven't said that could damage President Trump. James Comey. And to those who say you should have brought Hillary Clinton before a grand jury, should Donald Trump be impeached?
I've heard more from George than I heard from him.
That's what I thought. When I saw the whole promo run, it was just all of George's questions.
Right.
I would have loved to have at least heard one sentence.
Sure. Well, if
he's
equating him to a mob boss, you got to figure, given the fact that the name of his book is Higher Loyalty. And remember, famously, Mr. Comey said, President Trump asked me if I was going to be loyal to him, so maybe that's the connection right there. Axios has a little summary of some of the things that were said, and according to one source who was at the taping at Comey's house a couple of days ago, Mr. Comey is going to, quote, shock the president and his team. But we don't know what that means, but that's in their team.
He's equating the president to a mob boss. Did you watch Sean Hannity's monologue last night? It was all the mobsters and how many people they had killed. It's a little different.
Right.
Knows where the bodies are buried.
It's definitely going to be interesting. Fascinating that Loretta Lynch had to get her story out first over the last week because it looks like Comey is going to contradict her.
Right.
Somebody's got to be lying, including McCabe's story doesn't line up with Comey's story.
Well, here's
and
the thing.
someone like Bret Baier will be able to bring something in like that.
The thing is, unlike a lot of books, nobody has seen this book. There's what is called a hard embargo on it. Nobody has seen the book. It goes on sale on Tuesday. I'm sure the people over at ABC got to look at it just before the interview.
But are you going to read it?
It'll be
Are you
interesting.
going to watch that interview?
I'll watch the interview.
I remember when Madonna wrote her book. Remember, Jillian, she put it into, she wrapped it, I think, cellophane. So if you broke the wrapper, she would know you read it ahead of time. It was top secret, much like James Comey.
I don't remember that one, but I will take your word for it.
She was, at one time, she was a very successful singer.
At one time. All right, let's get you caught up on your news, starting with the Fox News alert, guys. Some serious news here. The resistance to sanctuary cities growing in California. The city of Westminster voting overnight to support a federal lawsuit against the state. The sanctuary cities law limits local law enforcement from cooperating with federal immigration authorities. Westminster joins 8 other Orange County cities that have opposed the bill. A twice-deported illegal already behind bars will be charged in the death of a Florida sheriff's deputy. Francisco Portillo Fuentes accused of manslaughter after Deputy Eric Oliver was hit by a car crash chasing after him 2 years ago. Fuentes says he ran away from the officer for the sake of his kids, but Deputy Oliver's dad isn't buying it.
Just an excuse for him to get back to his country, and he had every opportunity and chance to stop. He ruined the lives of, Eric's brothers, sisters, aunts, and uncles, and his daughter.
Right now, Fuentes is finishing out a 2-year sentence for illegally re-entering the U.S. The years of soft policy on Russia are over. That's what Secretary of State nominee Mike Pompeo is expected to tell the Senate during his confirmation hearing today. According to remarks obtained by Fox News, Pompeo will also emphasize that while challenging, diplomatic efforts with Moscow must continue. The CIA director was picked to head the State Department after the president fired Rex Tillerson last month. So you won the Masters. What do you do now? Forget Disney World. Forget elaborate trips. Masters champ Patrick Reed rolling up to a Chick-fil-A drive-thru, still sporting that iconic green jacket. The restaurant in Texas tweeting this photo of Reed and his wife in the car as they waited for their food. But I just have to wonder, what did they order? I need to know.
Anything.
A number one.
The waffle fries? Because if so, I approve.
I do.
The number one is the best.
Sandwich
It's
and
the
the waffle
classic, the fries, the Coke.
I heard that
Maybe
Chick-fil-A
lemonade.
is overtaking McDonald's for the next generation of fast food eaters.
Really?
That's how popular.
What do you eat there?
I mean, I
yeah,
have
you
been
don't
there
eat
like
meat.
once in my life, but the waffle fries, I would get them.
It's fantastic. And if they are doing that, Brian, if that's true, they're going to overtake McDonald's. It's extraordinary because they are closed
On Sunday.
every Sunday. So that
Pickles or no pickles?
would be pickles. Oh,
Pickles.
come on.
Right.
Hello.
All right, 13 minutes now after the hour.
More lawmakers are confronting Facebook CEO Jeff Zuckerberg about why Facebook, Mark, that is to say, labeled Diamond and Silk unsafe for the community.
For you. And that question is, what is unsafe about 2 black women supporting President Donald J. Trump?
I believe the congressman heard that question on our program from Diamond and Silk here yesterday. His response and what Diamond and Silk are saying today, coming up.
But if you're going to skip school to go to a baseball game, better not hold a sign telling everyone about it. What happened to this kid coming up?
What kid?
All right, back with the Fox News alert. President Trump threatening a strike on Syria in response to chemical weapons attack, tweeting this. Never said when an attack on Syria would take place. Could be very soon or not soon at all. In any event, the United States under my administration has done a great job of ridding the region of ISIS, whereas thank you, America. This, as the White House says, all options are on the table. So what is the right approach to handle this crisis? Here to weigh in is retired Delta Force operator who was in Syria last month ago helping with reconstruction, Lieutenant Colonel Jim Reese. Colonel, what should be our next step here after what you saw Saturday, after what you witnessed firsthand?
Brian, good morning. Well, we definitely need to show a response. And I know President Trump, all of our elements of national power are working this very diligently with the coalition that's been over there and with our NATO allies. But I also believe that, we have missed so many red lines. What we can't talk about anymore is possibly leaving Syria. We own the whole eastern part of Syria. If you take a line from Kobani and run it down the Euphrates River all the way back into Iraq, that's ours. We can't give that up. And I also believe that something on the table that I know the Pentagon is working on, it'll be a course of action to look at, is getting our coalition forces, ground forces, armor, artillery, that eventually we might need to go in there and put forces on the Euphrates River and point them towards Damascus.
So get the Saudis, get Qatar, get UAE, and put them on the ground. So the Iranians are not going to like that. The Russians aren't going to like that. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, you know, the Crown Prince was just here. He asked President Trump, do not leave Syria. I would turn right back around and tell the Crown Prince, okay, I won't need Syria, but I need some of your ground forces. The Saudis have a large military and a very prominent armored aspect.
So, Colonel, you think we can't leave and you think we have to strike. Well, let's take a look at this map. You have a monitor there. This is what has been estimated to a possible strike spots. They have about 6 military bases there. The Russians have, I believe, one and about between 30 and 40 planes. As you look there, what could you tell our viewers about what we might be up against?
Well, I can't see the monitor in front of us, but here's what I do know, is we're not going to strike any Russian aspects. You know, we're going to look at those Syrian pieces. You know, we are in talks continuously with the Russians. You know, we're not going to do that. I don't believe the Russians are going to shoot an American airplane out of the sky. But I also believe, though, if we put an airstrike in, this airstrike should be a coalition airstrike. Again, Saudi aircraft, Emirati aircraft, Iraqi aircraft. They've got the F-16s. So I believe a coalition airstrike would be a great response to this Assad atrocity.
And I love the president's tweet yesterday. He said Russia vows to shoot down any of our missiles fired at us. Because get ready, Russia, because they will be coming nice, new, and smart. Thanks so much. I know it's not easy. I know there's risk, but the world's got to know this using these gases and biological weapons cannot be tolerated. Thanks, Colonel, for your service. Thanks for giving us your firsthand account.
Yes, sir. Have a great day.
Straight ahead. College graduation season is right around the corner. That means you'll be soon surrounded by snowflakes in some cases. At work, Larry Winget has some tips on how to survive the blizzard and maybe help them out.
He gives a speech tonight in which he makes it sound like the biggest issue in the United States, the biggest threat is MS-13, a gang nobody that doesn't watch Fox News has ever heard of. So it makes it sound like they're the biggest threat.
All right, it's time for your news by the numbers. First, $19 million. That's how much the state of New York is allocating to fighting the brutal gang trivialized by that MSNBC host. The state combating recruitment after more than 24 murders in 2 years. Next, $2 million. That's the value of the meth found stuffed inside those knockoff Disney figurines.
What?
Agents intercepting the shipment from Mexico to Atlanta. And finally, number 1, President Trump tapping the first ever black woman to serve as Brigadier General. Colonel Lorna Matlock currently serves as the Deputy Director of Operations, Plans, and Policies at the Marines headquarters in D.C.
Congratulations.
And congratulations will go out to college graduates after their graduations. They're right around the corner, after all. And while some graduates might want to hear something like this.
As you go out into the world, my advice to you is, don't go. It's rough out there. Move back with your parents. Let them worry about it.
What a visionary. Our next guest has some real advice for some of those so-called snowflakes about to enter the workforce and may be actually working next to you. The author of What's Wrong with Damn Near Everything, Larry Winget, the pit bull of personal development, joins us with some tips. So, Larry, a lot of these college students who are graduating coming up very shortly, they're used to the safe spaces on campus. What happens when they're in an office pod with a lot of people who are not familiar with how safe spaces work?
Well, hopefully they get a rude awakening. We're not really seeing that, no. What we're seeing is that a lot of businesses are starting to cater to the demands and the wants and the desires and dreams of all these snowflakes that are graduating from college, and that needs to stop. They need to be told that businesses should cater to customers and not to the employees. You see, they've spent the first 20 years or so of their lives being told that they're special. Their parents told them that, then the school told them that, and now they're going into business, and guess what? You're not special anymore. You're an employee.
Yeah, they need to learn the customer is always right. Remember your dad telling you that? Not the snowflake. What are some of your tips for these snowflakes that are graduating?
You know, first of all, it's sort of the main number one basic. Be on time. You're paid to be on time, but mostly when you're not on time, you need to understand that's a real show of disrespect. You're disrespecting your job, your paycheck, your employer, your co-workers, and your customers.
You say when you are at work, make sure you work and try to get something done.
You know, 25% of employees these days, we're told by most studies, are doing personal things when they're at work. You're not paid to do your personal things. When you're at work, work. If you're doing 25% of your time on your personal stuff, you are stealing your wages.
And speaking of personal stuff, you say business email takes priority over social media.
Businesses communicate with their customers and with each other on email. Most studies also tell us that these people are not good at email. They tweet, they Snapchat, and they use Instagram, but that's not how businesses communicate. You got to answer your email. That's your number one priority.
Larry, you say you're owed a paycheck in exchange for your effort, nothing more.
Nothing more. What a surprise. No business can make sure that no one's going to ever hurt your feelings. There aren't any safe spaces in a manufacturing plant or wherever it is that you work. You're going to have to toughen up. You are owed your paycheck. That's your right. You do not have the right to not get your feelings hurt.
Right. And Larry, the other thing is you're not going to walk in and become the CEO. They have to understand they're going to work their way up the ladder. A lot of them don't have the patience for that.
Exactly right. What we need to fix all of this, it doesn't have to be this way. We need strong leadership in the home, and we need strong leadership in businesses right now who maybe for the first time to these graduates will say, no, you don't get your way.
And if someone is like Larry Winget in this generation, they're going to rocket up the ladder because sadly they're going to stand out more than maybe previous generations would.
Absolutely. Remember, in a world of snowflakes, be the heat.
All right.
I love that.
Larry, thank you very much.
Larry. Well,
You bet.
as fire rips through an apartment building, a race to rescue everyone inside. Watch this.
Get out! Get out! Wake up! Wake up! Hey! Get out! Get out! Right now!
Oh, my goodness.
The incredible video coming up next.
That's the exit. Plus, more lawmakers confronting Mark Zuckerberg about why Facebook labeled Diamond and Silk as unsafe to the community. Jerry Willis joins us next with his answers to their tough questions live from Fox and Friends World Headquarters. Hey, Jerry.
This is a collaborative, improvisational conversation about politics and life.
Everybody at The Five comes with a background and an expertise.
No one says news has to be boring.
No scripts, nothing.
People love the show because we make them think.
And at 5 o'clock, you get the hard stuff and we dissect it up top. And then at the end of the show, we give you a little dessert.
We're telling you what we think. And we are speaking, it turns out, for a lot of people.
But I'd like to show you right now a little picture here. You recognize these folks?
I do.
Who are they?
I believe, is that Diamond and Silk?
And their content was deemed by your folks to be unsafe. Diamond and Silk have a question for you, and that question is, what is unsafe about two black women supporting President Donald J. Trump?
Well, Congressman, nothing is unsafe about that.
Do you subjectively manipulate your algorithms to prioritize or censor speech?
Congresswoman, we don't think about what we're doing as censoring speech. I think that there are there are types of content like terrorism that I think that we all agree we do not want to have on our service. So we build systems that can identify those and can remove that content, and we're very proud of that work.
Let me tell you something right now. Diamond and Silk is not terrorism.
Why is Facebook censoring conservative bloggers such as Diamond and Silk?
Congressman, in that specific case, our team made an enforcement error, and we have already gotten in touch with them to reverse it.
The number one topic, it seems, yesterday at the Zuckerberg hearing, Diamond and Silk. Jerry Willis from the Fox Business Network joins us. They've got quite a story. You know, Facebook, with this algorithm, has pretty much shut them down.
Well, you know, they have 1.5 million followers on Facebook, even so. And of course, they're on other social media as well. They have a store on Facebook. They need those pages to work and to work really well. And they say they are not. Now, I put a request into Facebook to get some kind of comment more directly on this today. I have not heard from them.
Well, he even said that he contacted Diamond and Silk, that the company has, and that they're not restricting them. Diamond and Silk was interviewed last night on Laura's show and said that's not true. They haven't been contacted and they are still being restricted. So was he lying intentionally, or does he just not know what's happening?
It's possible he doesn't even know.
Sure.
I mean, I think the real takeaway here, right, is do you want Facebook telling you what you can see in your Facebook feed? I mean, is it their job to sort through content and say this political stuff is good, this political stuff is bad?
Well, Jerry, it's different. What's dangerous? So they're going to decide. Basically, they're trying to get rid of the Al Qaeda, the ISIS, and the fake news. They're trying to.
But they also got rid of Diamond and Silk because they said they were offensive to the community.
I mean, I'm just saying in the big picture, it's more than Diamond and Silk. They also went on to say they don't sell your data, and they are outraged that Cambridge Analytica did what they did, and they even stole his.
They even stole Mark Zuckerberg's information. But I have to tell you, here's the big thing they're not talking about, I believe, that they're worried to death about. Okay, so Cambridge Analytica from their point of view. But what if en masse people started pulling away from Facebook? There's nothing to keep you there. You don't have to stay on Facebook.
There needs to be another social media company that comes out and says and promotes themselves as saying, we will not censor you unless it is truly dangerous and terrorist.
But in the eyes of whom? And that's what it comes down to.
Right. It's a big question. Who makes those decisions? I mean, let's face it, many Americans are uncomfortable with media making that decision.
Right. That's true. And now what happens what did Facebook do in terms of their stock?
5.5% gain over 2 days.
Right.
He
did
really? I think $3.3 billion he got as a result of this. I mean, you think about this, it was a big win for him.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Also, the worry was that there would be more regulation. There would be regulation on Facebook. There is internationally, particularly in Europe. But, you know, after that, they are no closer to American regulation than they were when they started.
These are people who can't agree on going to lunch together. I mean, that's just my view. The idea that they're going to get together on some kind of comprehensive reform. Europe's already done it. Those rules are coming here, and they are intense. That's what's going to make the difference.
So you said there was a gain in the stock market yesterday, but was there a big drop when all of this first was breaking?
Facebook has been under pressure for about a month, ever since they announced Cambridge Analytica. Their stock has tanked like a stone. So this turnaround was entirely attributed in the marketplace to Zuckerberg's performance.
And every single member of Congress has a Facebook page.
That's right. And they talked about it till you thought your head was going to come off during these hearings.
Jerry, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. All right. It's 22 minutes before the top of the hour. You know what it means. Time for news with Jillian.
Good morning. Good morning to you at home. Let's get you caught up on some of the stories we're following, starting with this. The Associated Press now reporting the National Enquirer paid $30,000 to an ex-doorman in one of President Trump's buildings, all over a rumor. The payment to keep quiet about a rumor that then candidate Trump fathered a child with an employee there. The woman involved says it's all fake. Trump's lawyer, Michael Cohen, calls it a baseless rumor. The ladies of ABC's The View can't hide their disdain for the Trump administration. Co-host Whoopi Goldberg appearing to encourage violence while discussing the possible firing of special counsel Robert Mueller.
I 100% think there would be, I think there would actually be rioting in Washington, D.C. I think it would be at levels we haven't seen.
I have to say. The group went on to say that they believe the president does not have the right to fire Mueller. Insane video showing people running from their homes in the middle of the night as a fire rips through an apartment building.
Get out! Get out! Wake up! Wake up! Hey! Get out! Get out!
Frightening. Neighbors banging on the doors, begging people to leave as flames consumed the apartment building in Hollywood. 3 people are hurt. The cause of the fire is under investigation. A 4th grader who played hooky to go to the Cubs home opener gets busted. Tucker Steckman, seen by millions in this MLB tweet at the game, holding a sign saying, "Shh, don't tell the principal." They covered his face to protect his identity, but it turns out the principal was at the game too. He also skipped school to take his son to Wrigley Field. The principal even admitted trying to hide from his student.
So who got in trouble?
No one. No one. I mean, that cancels each other out. That's hilarious.
That is funny. All right. Thanks, Jillian.
Yep.
All right, let's outside, I guess, to Janice. Janice, you outside? Yes, you are with some of our fans.
I am. How are you? Let's meet some of my friends. What's your name? Where are you from?
Troy Jagai from Corey, Pennsylvania.
And?
Phil Gernovich, Erie, PA.
And?
Paul from Boston, Mass.
Thank you so much. What are you doing here in New York?
Just here to visit you.
Oh, I love it. Let's go to the weather maps. You know what? I have some good news for you.
Yay.
It is warming up here in New York. It's not warm right now, but it's going to get warm. Look at that. Temperatures in the 70s Friday and Saturday. So maybe you'll want to hang tight. Stay till Saturday. Enjoy some summertime weather here in New York City. 47 in New York, 62 in Dallas, 43 in Rapid City. Unfortunately, we have all 4 seasons on the map. We've got some spring, we've got some summertime, we've got some wintertime and fall. Unfortunately, we've got this big system moving in from the west. We have blizzard warnings for parts of South Dakota, and that system is going to move eastward. And unfortunately, all of that cold air is going to bring those temperatures in the 70s down to the 50s and 40s. Also want to point out we have some severe weather. Okay, do you want to say hi to anybody at home?
Hi, Trish.
Hi, Tammy. My sister. How you doing?
Yay! Say hi to Steve Ainsley and Brian.
Hey,
hi, guys. Yay! Come on out.
Thank you very much. You know, I'm beginning to feel that if you want to be on television, you just simply show up behind Janice Dean, and she will ask you, what are you doing in town?
She's so good about that.
She is indeed. All right. Meanwhile, straight ahead, Sanctuary City backlash growing in Southern California. More cities, now joining the federal lawsuit against California. One of the lawmakers leading the way is going to join Ainsley next.
Plus, there's a special story behind this incredible performance of our national anthem. We plan on sharing it. All right, time for some quick headlines right now in my 3-piece suit. Sipping on straws could soon be a thing of the past in St. Petersburg, Florida. There's a sample straws. They're kicking off a campaign to stop the use of plastic straws. This week, city councils will decide whether or not it will be enforced. Malibu, Seattle, and Miami Beach are just among the several cities also looking into banning straws or making a limited use. I'll start walking now. And dismantle whiteness and misogyny on this campus. That's the message written on this new mural at the University of Southern California. A group of feminist artists working with students on the project, as you're seeing right behind me. They say it meant to spark conversations about racism, sexism, and xenophobia. How nice. Ainsley?
And dismantle the whiteness, Brian.
Yes.
Okay, overnight, another California city voted to join the DOJ's lawsuit against the state sanctuary laws. The Westminster City Council voting 3-1 to opt out of a law limiting cooperation with local law enforcement and ICE. It's the 3rd city in just 2 days to challenge the state's immigration policy. Newport Beach City Councilman Scott Piotr, he voted in support of this move, and he joins us now. Good morning to you, Councilman. Thanks for being with us.
Morning, Ainsley.
Good morning.
Glad to be here.
Well, we're so glad to have you. So your council voted 7-0. Everyone's in favor of opting out and not complying with SB 54. Why is that?
Well, we felt that it's a tool in the toolbox for our police to help keep criminals off the street, and it has nothing to do with immigration, as a lot of our opponents are trying to say. Instead, we're trying to deal with illegal alien criminals. And so we joined the growing list of cities trying to tell Sacramento that we are not very happy about the law.
When Jerry Brown said he supports this law, when a lot of Californians went to the polls and they voted for this law, what were your thoughts? Were you going to be vocal, or did you decide and your council decide to be vocal once other cities started doing this?
No, actually, we started to attack this last year when it was in the legislature before it became law. We actually sent a letter to the legislature encouraging them not to pass it, or to at least incorporate changes that wouldn't handcuff our police forces to be able to work with ICE to apprehend illegal alien criminals.
Do you think the governor is starting to listen to you guys and listen to, I know the southern part of the state is a little bit more conservative or a lot more conservative. Is he starting to hear what your opinions are?
You know, Sacramento is controlled by 2/3 Democrats, so they really don't have to listen to us, and that's been their history. I hope that they'd listen, but obviously they didn't last year, and that's why we decided to join the lawsuit against the state by Jeff Sessions.
Then why do you think he's sending those 400 National Guard troops down to the border? He's responding to the president.
Well, you listen to Jerry Brown, and he's sending them there for other reasons, not for immigration purposes. In either event, that the troops end up being at the border, so it's a matter of whose spin do you want to listen to.
And what's your message to the folks in the northern part of your state that are complying with SB 54?
Well, we want to be a law and order city. We want to be a law and order state, and we want to comply both with federal law and state law. And they put us into a situation that we have to choose. We don't like it.
Thank you so much, Councilman, for being with us. Great to see you.
Thanks,
Have a great weekend. Thank you. Well, the years of soft policy on Russia are over. What we expect to hear from Mike Pompeo during his confirmation hearing and what President Trump just tweeted about it at the top of the hour. Plus, the Speaker of the House, Paul Ryan, is retiring. What does that mean for the midterms? We will break it down for you next.
Speaker Paul Ryan shaking up the House yesterday, announcing he's going to retire at the end of his term. What effect will this have on the November midterm elections as we march on toward that month? Joining us right now to break it all down is former Ted Cruz campaign pollster and CEO of WPA Intelligence, Chris Wilson. Chris, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Okay, so Paul Ryan made a really good case. Look, my kids have never seen me before because I only come home on the weekends, so I'd like to spend a little time before they grow up. That's a good reason.
Yeah, it is. I think a quick scan of his Instagram, Paul Ryan's Instagram account, shows how much he enjoys spending time with his kids. And it's got to get all the travel, all the fundraising, the schedule he's got. He's already been to 20 states so far this year. The schedule has got to be just daunting, particularly for someone who, in a decade isn't going to have his kids around anymore. They're going to be off in college. So if there's one reason for someone to say they want to leave Congress, and it's got to be, this is the one that nobody can argue with.
The one thing that a lot of people don't realize, Chris, is they know, oh, Speaker of the House, you're in charge of the House on the Republican side, and you're the leader. But they don't realize that if you are a Republican, you do look for the Speaker of the House, if you're in Congress, to come out to your district and raise money. And that's why a lot of the weekends when he would like to be at home in Janesville with his kids, he is somewhere else trying to make money for somebody else.
Yeah, it's, like I said, the schedule. I know last week I do a lot of work in Texas. He had been down there and he went all over the state. Now, having said that, he's been a prolific fundraiser. He's already transferred $40 million from his campaign account over to the NRCC. And I don't think that's going to change very soon. As he said, he's going to run through the tape. He's going to keep doing that schedule. He's going to keep raising money. And both the NRCC and the RNC actually are on track. They've already, through the end of February, raised 50%, more than 50% of what they did for all of 2016. So it's going to be well funded. I don't see that stopping. Going to this committee, is clearly still committed to Republican and conservative, to the Republican Party and conservative ideals, and making sure that he does everything he can that Republicans keep the House.
We've got a big screen over here that shows Team Ryan fundraising in the first quarter of 2018. Look at that; they've raised $11.1 million already, and over the last election cycle, over $54 million. But here's the thing, Chris. It does look to some donors as if Paul Ryan's getting out because he knows the Democrats are going to be taken over. He's going to lose the gavel, so he's going to get out while the getting's good.
Well, I think Democrats are certainly do everything they can to make that argument. And as he gets out, he became the 25th member to announce a retirement. You have 13 more that are moving on and trying to run for higher offices. 38 seats right now amongst Republicans are open. But, Steve, the interesting thing about that is only 22 of those are right now ranked as toss-up, which is less than the Democrats need to take over the House. But Ryan's probably moves into that category. Randy Bryce, the Democrat there, has already raised over $2.5 million. And now that Ryan's out, he's got to find a strong Republican to be able to hold that seat.
Sure.
I think what this does is it kind of frees him up a little bit to go out and make sure that Republicans have strong candidates, that he's helping them campaign. And he knows that come January, he's going to have the time to spend with his family.
Sure.
And he can concentrate and work with donors and work with the Republican Party to make sure that Republicans do hold the House and pick up seats in the Senate.
Right. Well, one of the problems for Mr. Ryan was the fact that it was hard to get all the Republicans on the same page, and that's why they didn't get a lot of stuff done. So if the Republicans still have the majority come January, who would the next speaker be? A lot of people are talking about Steve Scalise, who was on our program yesterday, or Kevin McCarthy. Right now, who's the front runner?
You know, it's tough to say because this only started yesterday. Steve Scalise said he won't run against Kevin McCarthy. Kevin McCarthy started to run last time when Paul Ryan did and then pulled back and decided not to. Yeah. And so no one's really announced yet. There are a lot of calls being made around. I had a couple of calls yesterday of clients of ours talking about what's going to happen. I think there is, between the two, I think it's likely that Scalise emerges because he's seen as the more conservative pick and he would be a face of the party. But I think there's probably a couple other candidates in this that we haven't even heard of yet, that you could see Republicans come together and say, it's sort of like what happened with Paul Ryan, quite frankly, where they say, hey, this is the person who we can all get behind. Sure. And the group that's going to have a big say in this is going to be the House Freedom Caucus.
Absolutely. And it sounds like right now they are doing a deal, or they're talking to Kevin McCarthy because he's saying all the things they want to hear. So stay tuned. We'll find out what's going to happen. Chris Wilson, former Ted Cruz campaign pollster, thank you very much for joining us live. Meanwhile, if somebody wants welfare, should they have to get a job? What about a drug test? The president pushing stricter guidelines? We're going to have a debate on that next hour.